is Daniel Griffin. The company I work for is Directions Training. Directions Training is a Microsoft training partner. We do Microsoft training on everything, including some other topics that we have as well in the technical realm. I do want to let you all know that we do have a special thing going here for this training today, for this particular webinar. There is a raffle giveaway. All right, now you don't have to purchase tickets. There's the great news. As a matter of fact, you all can get a ticket, but there's a trick to it. Throughout this training today, I am going to say a secret word. And the word is so secret, I can't even tell you what it is. No, I'm just joking. The word I'm going to say today at some point is mongoose. I know, it's pretty random, right? That's the word I'm going to use. When I use the word mongoose, you can email marketing@directionstraining.com. And I know it says by 4 p.m. It actually needs to be time-stamped around the time that I'm going to say it. Okay, so it's all kind of tied together. But as soon as I say it, you can go ahead and send an email to marketing@directionstraining. Or if you want to wait till training's over, you can just say the time that I said it. So Dan said mongoose at whatever time today, and we'll be able to enter you in the raffle. And what the raffle is for is one seat in a 5-day virtual instructor-led Windows 10 technical training class. So really it goes into some amazing stuff for Windows 10 deployment, or just things that are going on in the background that you may need to help you in your profession. So pretty darn good deal if you ask me. And all you need to do again is just send that word in the email message. And I'll pop this up at the end of training again so you know it. So if you want to just listen for when I say the word mongoose at what time and just write that down, that will be perfectly fine as well. All right, everybody, so let's jump into Windows 10 training. This is more of an end user training, but I'm not going to do it at a super basic level. If you've never worked with Windows before, you are in the right place. I will talk you through everything, but I really want to make sure that I have something for everybody in this training. So I want to focus more on the new features of Windows 10 and what to expect with it. All right, so I already am logged into Windows 10, but I do want to show you that when you first access Windows 10, you are going to see a lock screen. So I'm going to do Windows 10 lock screen. And what that is, you probably have already seen this. When you first walk up to a Windows 10 computer, you are typically going to be greeted with a picture. And that picture usually has the date and time on it. You can pin some notifications to that lock screen, and I'll show you how to do that. Once you get to that lock screen, you can hit any key on the keyboard or click with the mouse, and that will take you to the Windows 10 sign-in screen, which as a matter of fact looks just like this. Okay, so it's just got a little box for your user account. You put in your password and you are logged in. You can also switch between other users on the computer right there. Okay, so that's very straightforward. We really don't even need to see that. It's just kind of so you know what that is. Once you are logged in, though, you are going to notice that the Windows 10 environment looks a lot like the other versions of Windows. Well, because it is, And as a matter of fact, let me just mention why Windows 10 exists. Why do we have Windows 10? And what's the purpose of it? So Windows 10 was designed to look and feel like Windows 7. Now, Windows 7 was one of the most widely used versions of Windows out of all the versions of Windows ever. So many people across the planet used Windows 7, really liked the way that it worked, liked the features that were in Windows 7. Now, after Windows 7, there was a version of Windows called Windows 8 and Windows 8.1. However, those were not as well received, and here's why. Microsoft does this sometimes. They try to push it a little bit too far, in my opinion. But what they did is they designed Windows 8 around touchscreens and tablets, which is great if you have a touchscreen or a tablet. If you don't have one, it didn't work very well or translate very well to just desktop. So it was mostly like your computer was in constant tablet mode, and you didn't have the ability to go back to more of a traditional Windows type environment. So they changed that back for Windows 10. As a matter of fact, Windows 8 was so, I don't want to call it bad. It wasn't bad, but Windows 8 was so not liked by a lot of people because of how Windows 7 worked that they just totally skipped Windows 9 entirely and went right to Windows 10. No, I'm joking. That's not actually the truth. I forgot the exact reason why, but they decided to start on Windows 10 as kind of like a newer way to start with the newer operating systems. But let's go back to what I was talking about. So Windows 10 is designed to look and feel like Windows 7. If that's the case, why not just keep Windows 7? Why do we have to have Windows 10 now? Well, here's the big bonus or big benefit of Windows 10. Although Windows 7 was used by a lot of people and a lot of people really liked it, Windows has never really been what people would call very user-friendly, and that's the truth. So Windows 10 is designed to look and feel like Windows 7, but be much more user-friendly than any other version of Windows. And they did an incredibly good job with that. You're going to see that as kind of our focus throughout the training, how user-friendly really everything is. So back to Windows 10 and the environment. So just like every other version of Windows, when you log in, you're going to see the desktop, which is what we have right here. Okay, desktop usually has your picture as the background. Yes, you can change your desktop to any picture you want. I will show you how to do that in a minute. Down at the bottom of your screen, you have the taskbar. And the taskbar is broken into a couple different parts. In the lower left-hand corner, we have the Start menu, which is the same place the Start menu has always been. When I click onto that, you'll see that it kind of looks familiar, but there are some definite new things going on with it that I might not be familiar with, especially if I've been using Windows 7. Going across from there, you can see I have a search box. I've got a number of pinned icons, and then on the far right-hand side, you have the notification area, and this has your date and time. It has basic information about your computer, like what my volume is currently, my internet connection. I can also click the up arrow and see other running applications in the system tray. Now, there is a new feature here. I'm going to start with this new feature. In the lower right-hand corner, you're going to notice there's this little chat bubble looking thing, and it's got a number 1. This is your notifications button, and when you click onto it, it pops open this panel that shows you any of the notifications that you've missed. Now, this is really cool because think about if you've worked in Outlook before. If you got an email from Outlook or an email message that came in through Outlook, you'd see that pop up in the lower right-hand corner, and it would only appear momentarily, and then it would disappear. Now it sticks to this little notification area. When I click onto it, I can see it right here in this Action Center. Now it looks like somebody posted something in here. I don't hear any sound. Let's see here. Let me see if I got Dylan. Would you mind reaching out to them and just seeing what the issue is with the sound? Thank you. Perfect. All right, so everybody else should hear me. If you can hear me okay, give me the thumbs up. I just want to double check that before we move forward. Perfect. Thank you, everybody. Don't forget, after you do click the thumbs up, you can click the thumbs up again to turn it off. I do appreciate that. Okay, going back to what we were talking about. Notification button. Cool. When we click that, here's the notification I missed. It's Cortana. She wants to talk to me. I don't want to talk to her right now, so I'm going to click the X to close out or dismiss that notification. Now, I want to go down to the bottom here and show you what else we have in this Action Center. There's a little button here that says Expand. I'm going to click on that, and you'll notice I have some quick buttons for changing things on my computer very quickly. So if I do have a tablet, I could switch to tablet mode, which will just be, make every application full screen and the Start menu full screen, so it works better for that. But there's really buttons for everything. And again, this goes back to what I said about Windows 10. Windows 10 is designed to be much more user-friendly, and it is. And you can see that right here. Now, I am on a desktop. If I were on a laptop, I would see a couple other buttons here, like one for power management. I would also see one for airplane mode. Guys, that's really cool. Because if you were a Windows 7 user and you were going to jump on an airplane and fly, there really wasn't a great way to go into airplane mode. What you would have to do is you'd have to go through the control panel, which is our old settings, go through the control panel and figure out how to do all of that. So you can see they've given us quick buttons for all these things, right? If I'm connecting to a projector, just click the button and connect to a projector. That's all I really need to do here. Now, I did mention the control panel. If you are a previous user of Windows, you probably know all about the control panel, and you probably remember that it was not easy to navigate. If you needed to uninstall a program on the computer, you had to go through this crazy process through the control panel, and you had to know where the things were to make these changes. In the notification area, I do have an All Settings button, and when I click on that, this should really drive home that point that Windows 10 is much more user-friendly. So if you take a look here, this is a perfect testament to that. We do not have the control panel. What we have instead is Windows settings. You're going to notice right at the top, I can immediately search for settings. I don't even need to know where it is. I can just tell it what I'm trying to do, and it will find it for me. Okay? Like maybe I want to do something with system fonts. I'll just type the word font up there. It's doing a search right now, and then it says font preview and change font settings. Everything else is broken into different categories here. So system options, any connected device. You even have the ability to link your phone to your computer for easy access of content. Network options, personalization like changing my desktop background, and so on. So it's all broken into categories. As a matter of fact, let me go into personalization and just kind of say one more thing about this. So if I want to change the desktop background here, you'll see that's the first thing it's offering me. I can use any picture I want. I can also browse my computer for pictures as well. Now I'm going to use one of the other pictures they have, and watch how easy this is. When I click on it, it just changes the background. What we used to have to do in Windows was you'd have to then click apply, and then you'd have to click OK, and it was all these extra steps just to change the background. Now you just click a button. Now we're about to talk about the start menu. If I look down under personalization, I have options for the start menu, and when I click that, look how easy this is. It's all like little check sliders, on or off, or options that you click quickly and it makes the change. So they have done an incredible job with these settings. I really like how user-friendly they are. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of this settings for now, and we're going to explore the start menu. So when I click onto the start menu, there's going to be some familiar elements here from the other versions of Windows, and there's also some new things like these tiles that we will talk about. But first off, I want you to notice that the start menu is broken into 3 separate columns. This is column 1 with all the skinny little icons. In the middle is your list of applications, which we'll talk about in a second, and then we have these new things called tiles. So let's talk about the buttons that we have here. Okay, if I click the button at the top, it's called expand, and when I click expand, it shows you what these icons mean. Power, which I'm sure you're familiar with that icon. Settings, which is what we just saw a second ago. So this is the other place I can get to settings, on one side or the other from the notification area. I have a quick link to pictures and documents, and then I have the account I'm signed in as. Okay, so a little bit different than previous versions of Windows. I'm going to go ahead and click the 3 lines here just to collapse it, because you will typically work like this. Now, the first thing I do want to show you with these buttons when I click on them is the power button. And when I click the power button, look at the options I have. Put the computer to sleep, shut it down, or restart it. And you are probably going to notice here that there's something missing that we used to see. When you used to click the power button on Windows machines, when you click power, one of your options was also to log out. We don't have that anymore. Because when you log into a Windows 10 computer, you are logged in for life. There's no getting out of it. You are stuck. It's just like the mob. No, I'm joking. That's a joke, guys. They just moved the button. Okay, the button is now with your account. When you click the account button, you're going to see that here's all the other accounts on my computer. Here's my options for my current account, so I can change my account settings, lock the computer, or sign out from here. So you just click your account, and then you can sign out from there. Now, this does bring up something else, which is lock. It's kind of cool that we have a button for lock now, because people had to do a whole bunch of crazy stuff to lock the computer before. A lot of people would do like a Control-Alt-Delete and then lock your computer. So let's talk about that. Good question just came in. Is there still a hibernate option? They've just kind of changed hibernate to sleep. I don't know. It's all the same thing. So your computer stays on, but it's low power, which is exactly what hibernate used to do. So same sort of thing. So going back to locking your computer, and I want to give you some quick options here, some shortcuts. To get in and out of your start menu, all you have to do is hit the Windows key on your keyboard. So take a look at your keyboard right now. I know you're all at a computer. If you look at your keyboard down at the bottom on the left and right hand side of the space bar by the Control and Alt keys, you have a Windows key on your keyboard, and believe it or not, it actually does stuff. If you hit that Windows key, it will open up the start menu. If you hit it again, it will close out of it. I see what you're doing there, Mr. Voss. Do the little weasel-like creatures hibernate? That's an excellent question. All right, going back into our start menu here, and we know we can do that through the Windows key. I'm going to go ahead and click onto the instructor thing again, and I'm going to show you lock. So my account and then lock. So we know that while you're at work especially, if you are going to get up from your computer, you should lock your computer no matter what. So we're going to get up and step away for a minute. To lock the computer, I'm going to give you a shortcut. So yes, you can go to the start menu now, click your account and lock, but here is the keyboard shortcut. Do not do this. Do not do this shortcut right now, because if you do it, it's going to lock you out. You're going to have to put in your password and get back into our little session here, okay? So you can write this one down if you want. To lock your computer, you hold down the Windows key on the keyboard. While you were holding that Windows key, you would hit the letter L, which again, you're not going to do. But that's the shortcut. Windows lock, Windows L. It's very easy. That's one of the better shortcuts for sure. All right, going back into the start menu. We do have settings here, and I do have a quick access for documents and pictures. I don't use those, to be perfectly honest. I don't really store a ton of stuff in my documents. I don't really store pictures in the traditional pictures library. I kind of just manage them through my own files. So I'm going to remove those two icons, and what I'm going to put in place is I'm going to put in place the File Explorer. So the File Explorer is already down here in my taskbar, but I'm going to go ahead and add it as my shortcut instead of these two buttons. So to change that, we know we go to Settings. So I'm going to click Settings. Once I go to Settings, I'm trying to personalize the computer, so I'm going to click Personalization, and then I'm going to go down to Start Menu Options. And then taking a look here, Show Apps and Start List. Yep, I want that. Show Recently Added Apps. Maybe I can turn that off. Show Most Used Apps. Show Suggestions. Show Recently Opened Items and Jump Lists. Yeah, that's all good. But now down below, choose which folders appear on Start. And when I click onto that, you'll see again, I had Documents and Pictures. So I'm going to turn off Documents. I'm going to turn off Pictures. And now when I go to the Start menu, you see they're gone. And then I'm going to turn on the File Explorer because I like that. And now I've got just the regular old File Explorer. Okay, so don't be afraid to check out settings. It's really easy to just make a quick change. You can always change things right back as you go. All right, moving on in our Start menu, our list of applications here. So all of our applications now go under the heading for the name of the application. So back in the day, if I loaded Microsoft Office on my computer, all of the Office applications would be in a folder called Microsoft Office, and they'd be in the alphabetical list of folders. Now, instead of having Access in that folder with everything else, Access is just under A, because it's an application that starts with A. If I want Excel, I just scroll down to the E's, and then I've got Excel. If I want Word, we go all the way down to the bottom, all the way down, look at that, and then I've got Word right there. So, I've got quite a long list here. I've got a lot of applications installed on this computer because I've got a couple other users who use this computer with me as well. So I want to show you a faster way to move around this list. Okay, everything's in alphabetical order, which is great, but how do I get to the W's very quickly? Well, you'll notice that every single item here gets a heading. So here's all my applications that start with a number. Here's all my applications that start with an A. If I click the letter A, you'll see it pops open a quick directory, so I can jump down to the W's, and once I get to the W's, I've got Microsoft Word right there. Now, if I want to put Word as a shortcut on my computer, how do we do that? Well, how did you do it in Windows 7? You dragged and dropped it, right? So I'm going to go ahead and drag Word, and I'm going to drop it on the desktop, and you see it will create a link that way. I can also drop it right in my taskbar, and that will make a link to it there as well. Okay, so just like you've always done in Windows. Now, I want to show you something else. You might have been thinking, instead of dragging and dropping, you might be a right clicker. That's great. I'm a right clicker too. When I right click on an application here, look at the options I have. Pin to start, which will pin it as one of the tiles here. I've got more options. I could unpin from the taskbar. It's already there, so I can't pin it again. It's already been pinned. I could run it with elevated permissions if I have the ability to do that, and then I can even open the file location where it is stored. There is one more thing in here that I want to show you, and there's one thing that's missing that I want to show you. The thing that's missing is I don't have an option to send to the desktop anymore. Right? So how do I get the shortcut? The only way to get a shortcut on your desktop now is by dragging and dropping. But to tell you the truth, they're trying to prevent people from doing that, and there's a big reason why, which I'm going to talk about in a second. But the other thing I want to show you, when you right-click on an application, all the way down at the bottom, you have a button for uninstall. That is terrifying. What if I accidentally right-click and then I click to uninstall and I wipe out Word from my computer? Well, going back to what I said at the beginning of class here, Windows 10 is designed to look and feel like Windows 7 and be much more user-friendly. If you need to uninstall an application from a Windows 7 machine, you had to go through that control panel and you had to know where to go. So now they're just giving you a way to quickly get to it. And if I do click install, you still have to go through like 2 or 3 more steps to actually remove it from the computer. So it's not just going to wipe it out instantly. So you don't have to be too afraid of that. All right, but why don't we have an option for the desktop anymore? Why can't I right-click and send to the desktop? The reason why is because for years and years and years, everybody, desktops have been used and abused. They have just been beat up by all of our shortcuts and all the garbage that we put on them. That's really not what desktops were designed for. Desktops were designed to really just kind of hold links and files that you are currently working on. Once you are done with those projects and those files, you would move them to a different folder to kind of archive them or clean up your desktop. That's the way it was intended to be used. It was never intended to have 1,000 shortcuts on it, right? And I've seen some stuff, guys. I'm sure you've seen some things before too, especially if you're in the IT world, where you go up to somebody's computer and you're like, how do you even see your desktop? Your desktop is just covered with icons on top of icons, right? So it really defeats the point of the desktop, right? And the bigger the monitor, the more room you have and the more chaos you can create. So the reason why we don't see that anymore is because there are much better options than putting shortcuts on your desktop. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to get rid of those. All right, so now I'm going to go to my Start menu, and we're going to talk about these new things called tiles. You can add important apps to your taskbar all day. I recommend that for sure. But what also I recommend is these tiles. I really like these tiles. When they first came out, guys, I'm not going to lie, I was like, what are these cartoony looking buttons? I don't need these goofy buttons. But once I started using them, I'm like, they make perfect sense because I can completely control them. So you might have noticed a couple things about these tiles already. Some of them are moving around, right? You're going to get just tiles. As soon as you install Windows, it just puts tiles on there for you. You don't really get to pick these first ones, but you can change them if you want to. So the things you're going to notice about tiles is some of them are animated. They are different sizes, right? Like this one is wider than this one, that's for sure. And these are a lot smaller than that one. So there's a lot of different options there. Also, you can see that they're in their own groups. So let's talk about that. To move a tile around in a group, you just move the tile by clicking and dragging, and you can move these and position these however you want. If you wanted to resize a tile, if you're not sure how to do something on the computer, when in doubt, we right-click. And when I right-click, I can unpin, which will remove the tile. I could resize, and here are the 4 size options for tiles. Small, which is these guys. Medium, which is these guys right here. Wide, which this one is currently, and then you've got the big, large buttons if you wanted some big ones. Okay, cool. All right, I'm going to go ahead and drop that back down to wide. Now again, these are 3 groups that were just created when I installed Windows. I really didn't have any control over that. If you want to manage these, you can obviously right-click and unpin to remove the tiles that you don't think you're going to be using. Okay, you can also consolidate them into one group if you decided you want to do that. So you can see I can quickly and easily move things between groups. I'll go ahead and put these down here at the bottom just to kind of clean this up, and then we're going to go ahead and create our own tile group here. I'm going to make that one small and then move that one in as well. And you see, as soon as I remove the last tile from a group, the group just goes away. So the next thing I want to do here is I want to make my own group for applications that I'm going to use all the time. I use Microsoft Office all day, every day. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Access over because that's one of the first Office applications I see in the list. To do that, you just drag it over, and I can add it to an existing tile group if I want. You notice that the tiles move out of the way. Or if I wanted to put it in its own group, you just put it in a blank area in the Start menu, and it will pin it in its own group. So here it is in its own group. This group has a label. This one doesn't. If you want to name your groups, you just go right above the top row of tiles. You can click to name the groups, and I will call this Office Apps. Perfect. Hit the Enter key. That's locked in. Now I'm going to go back through here, and I'm going to start scrolling. I'm going to bring in Excel. So there's Excel. I'll move Access over a little bit. We will go down to so many Office apps. Let's go with OneNote because OneNote is the best. We will do Outlook, which I almost skipped over. So there's Publisher, Outlook. Right, we'll get Excel in there because we need that, and we'll get PowerPoint in there. Word, and where's Power? Well, you know what? I'm just going to click the letters and jump to P. How about that? PowerPoint right there. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to go ahead and adjust these tiles a little bit to finish this up. I'm resizing some of these. Okay, Publisher, I'm going to resize small. PowerPoint will make small as well. I'm going to use Outlook all the time. I use Excel very often as well. So I'm going to organize these just like this. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to bring in Skype for Business. So I'm jumping to the S's real quick. Skype for Business is right there. Bring that in. I'm going to make that one small as well. And you probably noticed that the Office applications are only giving you 2 of the 4 possible sizes. It really depends on the application. You know, some of them don't have all 4 sizes, and you may not even end up using all 4 sizes necessarily. All right, so that's all set. I've got my tile group dialed in how I like it. I think that looks pretty good to me. And you can see how easy it is to set these things up and organize them however they make sense for you. So I really like tiles. One thing I haven't shown you with tiles that I will show you today is that you can also add folders here. You can also add shortcuts to websites here. So this is more than just applications. You can do tile groups for anything. Last thing I'm going to do right now is I'm going to move the Office apps over, and I'm going to put them so that they're the first tile group instead of the create group right there. Last thing about the start menu, you can actually resize the start menu now to whatever you decide, vertically and horizontally. So if I had a lot of tile groups, I can organize it however I decide I want to do that. Alright guys, we are moving on. This is where the cool new features kind of come in. So this was a new feature, and you've seen a couple new features, but this is where some really awesome stuff starts to happen. So just to check back in, make sure everybody is still alive, give me the quick thumbs up button just to make sure we're all good, and then we're going to move on. Perfect. Alright everybody, so here's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to open a couple Office applications. Okay, I'm going to open up Excel, and I'll just open up a couple files, just some generic templates here, just so I have some content in Excel. Alright, so there's one Excel file. I will create another Excel file here. Okay, so I've got two Excel files open. I've got my PowerPoint presentation that I showed you a minute ago, and I will pop open Microsoft Word. Okay, great. Alright, so let's talk about managing Windows. There are some really cool things you can do with Windows in Windows 10 now. So here's how we do this. You probably have always known that you can click the X to close, flatline minimizes to the taskbar. The double square will restore down, which means it just makes a smaller size. Also, another thing that I really liked about Windows 10 is that it puts a blue bar underneath each running application. You might not be able to see that in our webinar, guys, but there's like a tiny little blue line down there for all my running applications. Anyways, instead of clicking these little buttons, you can actually do it all by grabbing the title bar. The title bar of the application is the top part of the window that has the name of the file and the application, hence the title bar. When I click on that and drag towards the center, you will see it restores it down to the smaller size. If I want to make this full screen, I drag the window up and tap the top of the screen. So notice where my white arrow is. That's really the key to all of this. When my window and the white arrow hit the top, it will make it full screen. Now, you might be thinking, hey Dan, you can't pull one over on me. I know that this has been around for a while. And you are absolutely right. You've been able to do this in Windows since Windows 7. But there's a new feature that I'm getting to. So stick with me here, okay? The next thing I want to show you is how to work between two windows. So what if I want to put two windows side by side? And again, you might be thinking, I know you could do this in Windows 7, so why are you showing this to me? Well, let me show you why. In Windows 7, you could snap a window to either side. You could absolutely do that, and it would take up one side of the screen. But there's a big improvement in Windows 10, which you're going to see right now. So again, it doesn't really care where my window is. It's looking for my white arrow. So does everybody see where my white arrow is? I'm going to move the window, and when my window and the white arrow hit, that's when I get the animation for half screen, and when I let go, watch what happens. It makes this one half screen, and then the new Windows 10 improvement is it lets me pick any of my other open windows to take up the remaining space. Or if you just want the desktop, you can click the desktop. But let me go ahead and click onto this Excel file, and you see now it immediately takes up this space. So in Windows 7, you had to snap on one side and then manually snap on the other. Now in Windows 10, you just drag one over, and it kind of sets up a workspace for you, which is pretty cool, right? I'm pretty excited. But wait, there's more. Another improvement that they have is when you hover between two open windows now and click and drag, it will adjust the width of both windows at the same time. Guys, how about that? I love that. In Windows 7, you had to move one and then the other, and it was kind of tricky, and now they just made it that much easier. Okay? Pretty cool stuff. All right, I'm going to snap these back down, so I'm just dragging the title bar towards the center, and then I'm going to snap them up to full screen here. Now, snapping to one side or the other is great. You could do that in Windows 7, and now they've improved it in Windows 10, but this is Windows 10, guys. They got to take it one step further. So not only can you snap one window at a time, you can also snap a window to a quarter of a screen by dragging the window and dropping it in a corner. And then you can take another app and make it half screen if you want. And now I've got my super workspace set up here in Office. Now, my monitor resolution isn't that big, but you get the idea, okay? This is getting kind of crazy. All right, let me go ahead and pop these back up. All right, so I've got a bunch of open windows here. I'm going to switch back to PowerPoint and just minimize that for a second. Okay? If you guys remember, you're listening for that keyword. The keyword is mongoose. Mongoose, this is the time, guys. Do it up. I'll pop this back up at the end of training here. Okay? But that is it. All right, so this is the next thing, guys. This is my favorite Windows 10 feature. Snapping's cool, tiles are great and all that, but this next one is the best. This is the absolute best feature in Windows 10 in my opinion. It's called the task view. The task view allows you to basically take a big step back from your computer and look at everything at a glance. It is by far the greatest feature in Windows. And here's why. In a normal workday, when I'm not teaching classes, I am working on projects, and I have 3 or 4 projects going at any given time. By the end of the day, I will have files open for everything. I'll have a couple files for project 1, a couple files for project 2, I've got files for project 3, Excel spreadsheets and Word documents and emails and everything. I've got all these things open. It becomes very difficult towards the end of the day for me to switch between things. Like, I know you can hover at the bottom and kind of get the little view here, but let me show you this task view. The task view is right here in your taskbar. It's this tiny little button. And when I click onto it, watch what happens. It allows me to take a big step back from my computer, and I can see all of my open windows. Okay, and now I can click to switch. Okay, I'm going to go back into the task view, and I'm going to switch over to this Excel spreadsheet. All right, and it has the other two side by side, so I'm going to make those full screen again. But that's it. So that's really cool that you can take a giant step back, view all the windows, and you can even manage the windows from here. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to open up Edge. We're going to talk about Microsoft Edge in a little bit here. Okay, so I'm just going to pop it open for now. I'm going to go back to my task view, and again, you can see I have even more windows open now. Another thing you can do in the task view besides switching between windows is you can close out of windows you don't need anymore. So I'm going to click the X to close out of Edge, and it's asking me, do I want to close all windows? I'll say close all. Okay, I'll pop open one more application. We'll get the calculator open here. Okay, so task view, I click the X, and you see it just closes out of the application. Now, that's pretty cool. I really like that. It allows me to not have to stress so much switching between files because this is a much larger preview of the file. Okay, pretty exciting stuff, I know. But wait, there's more. There's one other thing in the task view that is just light years beyond here. And this is it. At the top of my screen in the task view, there is a button called New Desktop. Now, before I click that and tell you what it is, I've been giving you a couple shortcuts today. I want to give you a new one. Instead of clicking on the task view button, you can actually get into the task view by holding down the Windows key. While you're holding the Windows key, you hit Tab on your keyboard. Windows Tab will take you into this task view. Alright, so the New Desktop button. What the heck does that mean? Why is there a New Desktop button at the top? When I click onto it, watch what happens. I get Desktop 2 at the top. Here's Desktop 1. It's got all this other stuff running on it. And here's Desktop 2. Now, since Desktop 2 doesn't have anything running, it's suggesting to me files that I've recently been working on, and I can quickly jump back into those and load those on Desktop 2. Now, before I load any files on Desktop 2, I'm going to hover over it and click on it and switch to Desktop 2. And here's where things get a little bit confusing for a second. What's confusing here is this doesn't look like a different desktop, does it? It looks exactly like the same desktop I had originally. So it's not really a new desktop in the sense of you have a totally new separate desktop. What this actually is a new virtual extension or workspace built off of your original desktop. So what it allows you to do is it allows you to have certain things running on one desktop and other things running on the other desktop. So I could have some Excel files over here for Project 2 over here, and I can have the other Excel files for Project 1 over here. Pretty cool. Another thing that's really awesome is if you use Outlook, which I'm sure you do, Outlook will be available in both desktops. So it works across desktops. Everything else ends up being a separate application. So guys, by the end of the day, instead of me trying to manage everything on one big desktop, I can just move things over to the second desktop and create a division in my workspace. Now, let's talk about managing desktops here. Desktop 2 has Microsoft Edge running on it. You can see it right here. Here's Edge. When I hover over Desktop 2 and I click the X, watch what happens. it merges it with desktop 1. So it doesn't just close out of your open windows. It allows you to expand and collapse your working space. So now things are starting to get crazy. I want to move this Excel spreadsheet to the new desktop. You can see I can drag the whole window on top of the word new desktop, and it just moved that Excel file over to desktop 2. Now I need to move this Word document to desktop 2, and I can even add additional desktops if I need to. So you can see how you can do a clear division between your work environments just by using that task view. Guys, this gets me excited. I really like that stuff. That's so neat that you can do that. And when you're done, you just hit the X. It merges it right back with the other desktop, right? So that is really awesome. All right, guys, if you think it's as cool as I do, hit the applause button. If you don't care, that's fine too. Hit the thumbs down button. All right, let me take a look here. New desktop button doesn't appear. Could our company have turned it off? That's a very good question, Lynn. So another thing about Windows 10 that kind of helped companies decide to start using it is that Windows 10 can be very heavily customized for your organization. So if you do not see a new desktop button, that means that your organization might have disabled that feature, which is kind of sad because it probably means that somebody didn't really know what it was and they weren't sure, and it sounded like something they didn't want to support, so they might have turned it off. Oh, okay. Even better. Thank you, Eddie. So, guys, I'm using the absolute latest version of Windows 10. In previous versions of Windows 10, the new desktop button was in the lower right-hand corner. So slightly different, but it is the exact same task view. Okay, so good point. Thank you, Eddie, for pointing that out. But yes, to answer both questions or answer both ways, some companies can disable features, and that might have happened. If not, yeah, it might just be that you're on a different instance or version of Windows 10 than me. Perfect. All right, guys, so that's everything for managing Windows in Windows 10. Pretty cool new features in there. That task view is pretty amazing, as we saw a second ago. All right, I want to talk about how to find files on your computer and the benefits of that. Then we're going to talk about Microsoft Edge, guys, and then I will open it up to any questions you have, and we will wrap up for the day. So stick with me because there are some cool things that are coming up here as well. All right, let's talk about finding things on the computer. If you ever had to find something on the computer, like a file. So sometimes to find a file on the computer, you would have to open up the File Explorer, and then you'd have to type in what you were looking for. So I'm going to do that on my computer here. Notice that in Windows 10 we have a search box. I'm going to click in and just type the word Word. Type the word Word. When I type the word Word, watch what happens. I didn't even get a chance to finish typing, and it literally found all of these options for Word. It's saying the best match on my computer is the Word desktop application. I have a Word document I was recently in. I also have a Word pad on my computer. And under settings, there's a settings to highlight misspelled words, choose if narrator reads typed words, autocorrect misspelled words. So that's even settings that have to do with the word Word. How cool is that, guys? I could even search the web from here if I need to, and even search the Microsoft Store for other applications that have the word Word in it. Guys, so the search capabilities in Windows 10 are amazing. If you ever did a search in Windows 7, you knew that sometimes it was painfully slow to find anything on the computer. Windows 10 indexes everything as soon as it's put on your computer. Now, I just searched for the word Word. Just so y'all know, at the top, you can fine-tune your search. I'm looking for the results in just applications, in just files. I'm looking for common web results. I am looking under filters, and I can filter it because I'm looking for Word in settings or anywhere else, including network drives. You can connect to network drives and have it index those for you as well. But to really drive this home, everybody, I'm going to make a brand new folder on my desktop. And I'm going to call it Dan's. I always do that. I always hold down the capital key too long. Dan's Files. And then in Dan's Files, I'm going to create a new Word document. Now, I'll just do a text file. I'll call it Dan's Doc. Okay, so now I created two new things. There's no way I should be able to search for those right now. And as soon as I type Dan's, you'll see it immediately found those things for me. Guys, that's amazing. That is amazing how quickly it finds things. As soon as something's added, it is indexed immediately, and you can find it that quickly. So if you download a file attachment, you're like, where the heck did that go? Instead of trying to click it 10 more times to download it, just type part of the name in the box, and it will find it for you that quickly. Okay? I think that's pretty exciting too, but I am a nerd, and I'm okay with that. All right, I'm going to get rid of that stuff, and now we are going to move on to the File Explorer. I want to show you two things with the File Explorer real quick, guys. Then we're going to do Edge, and then we're going to wrap it up. All right, so opening up the File Explorer, you all know the File Explorer. You have used it before. They did make some changes to it. First off, I want to point out that I did not open a folder. I just opened up the File Explorer app. When I did that, it's showing me common places on my computer that I can look through. So if I go to Downloads, here's the Downloads folder. I don't have anything in here because this is a fresh Windows install. But I'm going to go to the desktop now. And here's all the files on my desktop, my 2 PowerPoints. Okay? So navigating is pretty much familiar to you. You know, it's how we've done it before. If I click on this PC, it'll show all the common folders, all of the hard drives and network drives that I'm connected to. Right? Now, I do want to show you something else here. I'm going to open up a network drive. And on it, I'm going to go to a folder that I use all the time. So this folder is something, oh, my antivirus just popped up there. Let me close out of that. This is a folder I use for my work all the time. You'll notice on the left-hand side I have something called Quick Access. How do I add my folder to Quick Access so I can get to it quickly? Well, when in doubt, right-click. When I right-click, here's all my options for the file. If I go down to the third option, it is Pin to Quick Access. And when I do that, there it is. Now I can quickly get into that folder at any time just by clicking that. Okay? So now if I'm browsing the desktop and I want to get to that folder, I just click. If you want to unpin, you right-click, and then you go a little bit further down and you can unpin from Quick Access. But I want to show you something else. When I right-click on the folder, instead of pinning to the Quick Access, if I go just a little bit further down, about halfway on my screen here, because I've got a lot of other things running on my computer, but if I go a little bit further down, I'm going to see Pin to Start. And when I click on that, and I go to my Start menu, you'll see here that I now have the folder pinned to Directions. And when I click onto it, I can type, you know, these are important, or I can even say project folders. Why not? There we go. All right, perfect. When I hit Enter, close out of that for now and go back into it, you'll see I can pin folders to my Start menu as tiles. And of course, you could resize them and do whatever else you need with them, just like any other tile. Cool, so that's pretty awesome. So let me go back into the Directions folder. And now I want to show you the next change here in Windows 10 in the File Explorer. All the way at the top now, you have a ribbon just like you have in Microsoft Office. The only thing is, it just happens to be minimized right now. If I click the word Home, you'll notice I get all my options in a ribbon now, and when I click away, they disappear. To lock that ribbon in place, which is something I recommend you do, you can double click on the Home tab or click the tiny little arrow over here and it will lock it in place for you. I recommend doing that because then you can see everything. Alright, I'm going to scroll down and click on a file here. Once I click onto a file, you'll see that I have all these options that light up for the file. Cut, copy it, paste it, pin to Quick Access, copy the file path if I need to share it if it's on a network hard drive, move it, copy it to, delete it, rename it, create new folders in this folder, edit properties of the folder, choose which application to open in. Everything is at the top there. Now let me show you something else, the Share tab. On the Share tab, from here, I can very quickly share it through email. Now I don't have Outlook set up right now, guys. When I click email, if I did have Outlook set up, it would immediately attach this to an email, and all I'd have to do is put in who it's going to, and the subject and send it, and it would be done. It's that cool. You can also very quickly zip or unzip files. So if I need to send multiple files to somebody, I can select multiple files and zip them. And you can see I can just click the button here to zip. As soon as I do that, it created the zip that quickly for me. And it based it off the top file's name. So that is really, really cool. Now go into the View tab, last tab up top here. You have your standard options for changing the way that things display. So right now I'm viewing details. Here's the items as a list. Here's the item as medium icons and large icons and extra large icons. So you've got a lot of buttons there. Okay. Now I want to show you something else that I like to do with my files here. On your View tab, you have a Sort By, which they're all sorted alphabetically. It does keep all your folders together and then files after that. But the next thing I want to show you is Group By. When I click Group By, I'm going to group by type and watch what happens. It puts every Word document together, every PowerPoint together, every Excel, every folder. It just makes it way easier for me to find things, especially if you're one of those people like me where you have a giant folder that you dump a lot of stuff into. Okay, all right, to turn grouping on or off at any time, you go back to Group By. If you don't want it anymore, you switch it back to none. Let's take a peek here. Is there any way to increase the font on that screen? On my actual screen here? Sure. I could go into the settings and change the font size, or I think this is probably what you're looking for, is I'm going to go into display settings here, which again, this is our settings. From home, I can go to display. Where is it? It's under system. System display, and then I should actually have changed the resolution for you at the beginning. That should help you see things a little bit better. Let's go with that one. Okay? So now, if I go back in here, you should see the text a little bit better. Okay? So, group by, I did group by type a second ago. That's all I did. It's all the ribbon at the top. All right, and there you go. You can see how it's grouped now. Okay, one more thing to show you here, then we're going to talk about Microsoft Edge. Oh, if you want to change, like, so that would be a computer setting, Sharon. If you want to make the actual text bigger on the computer, you would have to go into settings. And once you're in settings, you would go to, again, we can just search for font. I think it's under either system display. We can take a look there. System display, multi-displays, advanced display settings. I don't think that's going to be it. Advanced scaling settings. Yeah, change the size of text, apps, or other items. So if I go in here, I could, you know what, we'll just do it this way. I'll go with display, and then I'll go into 125%. See how the text got bigger? So that's really what you're looking for. And now when I go to the ribbon, all the text up there should be bigger as well. Okay, so that's how you'd have to do it through your settings, because you're actually changing the Windows 10 settings to make the text bigger. Alrighty, so last thing here, guys, is you now have a details pane and a preview pane you can turn on and off at any time. So I'm going to click on details pane, and I'm going to click onto a file. When I click onto a file, I can view and edit all of the metadata for this file. And then I can save it right down there at the bottom, which is really cool. The preview pane is pretty spectacular also. So I'll go ahead and click onto an outline I have here. That's an old outline, but I'll go ahead and click on a preview pane. And when you click preview pane, it will actually show you what is in that file. How cool is that? Look at this, guys. Here's my little Access presentation about databases. And you can see I can scroll through and see all the slides in here and make sure that that is the file I want to work off of. All right, so that is really cool. All right, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the preview pane, and I'm going to go ahead and close out here and close out of this. Last thing we're going to talk about is Edge, but it looks like somebody else is saying they lost sound. Not sure why that would be. To check in, guys, if everybody can still hear me, hit the raise hand button. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Thank you, everybody, for your feedback. Here is the last thing we're going to talk about, which is Microsoft Edge. Microsoft Edge is the new web browser. Okay? Now, I know what you're thinking already. I was thinking it too. Why? Why do we have a new web browser? Right? What happened to Internet Explorer? That's another question that comes up. And let's check this out, guys. I'm going to click the search box, and I'm going to type the word Internet, and you are going to notice Internet Explorer is still here. Okay, if Internet Explorer is still here, why the heck do we have to have two web browsers for Microsoft, right? Isn't one enough? Didn't they do enough damage with Internet Explorer? No, I'm joking, guys. That is a joke. Internet Explorer is a very powerful tool for web applications. Internet Explorer has something built into it called ActiveX. ActiveX has a lot of really neat things and controls that allow you to manage things on a Windows computer. It's actually pretty amazing how it works. So if you're a SharePoint user or a OneDrive user, you actually get more benefit from using Internet Explorer. However, in these applications, you really can use any web browser you want. You know, I could use Edge to view SharePoint. It's not a big deal. But back to the reason why we have Edge. Why does Microsoft have two web browsers? Well, if you remember, what I said at the beginning of class is that Windows 10 is designed to be the most user-friendly version of Windows. Internet Explorer is not a very user-friendly web browser. Let's be real. Okay, so that's why they created a new web browser called Edge, which you can already see at the top is very cleanly designed, very minimalistically designed. Okay, now at the top I do have a tab. I can add more tabs if I need to. I can also search the web right from here. So I'm going to search for something. I'm going to search for NASA, because I like space and I think space is cool. As soon as I type NASA, it does do a Bing search by default, guys. Bing is Microsoft's search engine. It's not a bad search engine. It does things just fine. All right, so now that it found the official site, how do I know that this is actually what I want to look at? What if I want to look at 10 of these things? That is what tabbed web browsing is for. So to open things up in a new tab, you can right click. One of my options on a link is to open in a new tab. And when I click onto that, you'll see it gives me a new tab at the top right there. Perfect. Now, here's a cool feature of Edge. When I hover over the tab, it actually gives me a preview of the web page. I think that's pretty cool. Now, I want to open up a couple more of these. So maybe I want to check out the Wikipedia. Of course, you could right-click and open in a new tab. However, some websites don't let you right-click. You might have been on a website where you tried right-clicking and it didn't do anything. In the event that a website is preventing you from doing a right-click, you're going to hold down the Control key. While you're holding the Control key, you click onto any link, and when you do that, you'll see it gives you a new tab at the top. Control-click. That will do it every single time for you, regardless of if right-clicking is disabled. Alrighty, so I'm going to go to the NASA search result because that's the page that I wanted. Now that I'm on the NASA page, going across the top here, guys, address bar at the top, back fourth arrow, refresh home. But in the right-hand side, I have a favorite website. And when I click onto that, I can favorite the NASA website. I can add it to my favorites list, or we have this new thing called the reading list. I'm going to add it to favorite because it is a favorite website. And now I'm going to click on one of the articles. All right, here's an article. I want to read this article later. Okay, I want to know a little bit more about it. So I'm going to go ahead and click the little star. Instead of adding it in with all my favorite websites, I can add it to this new thing called the reading list. And the cool thing about the reading list, guys, is that it creates an offline copy of the web page for you. That means if I'm going to jump on an airplane, I can add a whole bunch of website or web pages to the reading list, and I will be able to access them without an internet connection. That is pretty cool. Now, how do I get back to those items I added to my favorites? As soon as you launch Edge again, on the right-hand side, you click the little star with the lines. It's called Hub. Here are your favorite websites. Here are all the items on your reading list. You can even load ebooks into Edge. You can view your browsing history and the downloads. I'm going to go to my reading list and click the article, and as soon as I click that, I'm back. All right, guys, we're almost done. Two last things about Edge very quickly, and then I'll open it up to any questions you have. What makes Edge different? Like, who cares at this point? It really does everything that every other web browser does. The reading view has actually been around for a while. I think Safari was one of the first web browsers to use the reading view. So what's different about Edge? What makes it unique? Well, if you take a look all the way at the top by the star, there's a little book icon. And I want you to notice on the page it's got a lot of text. As a matter of fact, I might even pick a different article here just to show you a little bit further. Look at all the drop downs on this page. Look at all the text and all this other stuff that's happening here, right? So I'm going to go ahead and jump to another article. Look at all the drop downs. Look at all the media links and all this other stuff going on here. It's a lot to look at. If you click the reading view button, it strips all of it out. And now I can just read the article. This is probably the coolest thing in any web browser we've ever seen. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but sometimes on web browsers or websites, they put these things called advertisements. You ever seen those? Sometimes they take over your screen and they're really annoying. This little button takes care of that. So that's the reading view. You can load any web page in the reading view to view it better. Here's the last thing, guys. All the way at the top, there's a little pen. You can also add web notes. I get a pen, highlighter, eraser tool, callout tool, snipping tool, and so on. When I click the pen tool, I can choose the pen color and size, and as soon as I do that, I can draw directly on the page. Right? How cool is this stuff? Right? I can switch to the highlighter. I like green highlighters, and I'm going to go ahead and highlight the text. All right, there we go. And then I'm going to click the call out button here, and I'm going to add a call out. This is cool. All right, and then I can move that just so it's not on top of that other stuff. There we go. And then I can do a snip of it, so screen grab. There's a quick screen grab right there. It copies it to your clipboard, and then you can paste it in any application that supports pictures, including all of the Microsoft Office applications. All right, finally, when I am done with Edge and I want to save my little notes that I did, on the right-hand side, you hit the Save button. If you are a OneNote user, you can send it to OneNote. You can also just save it in Edge in your favorites or your reading list. When you are done, you hit the X, and it goes right back to a regular web page. Perfect. Last thing on the right-hand side is three dots, guys. This is where all your options are, including the option to pin the page to the Start menu. When I click on that and say yes, in my Start menu now, I have a link to a website as one of my tiles. All right, guys, I'm going to give you one more shortcut just because I think this is probably the best shortcut in all of Windows. I want you to know about it. Guys, what if I just want to do a screenshot of half my desktop and the Word window right now? How do I do that screen grab? Well, you might know about the snipping tool. Throw the snipping tool in the garbage. Here's all you need. Hold down the Windows key on your keyboard. While you're holding the Windows key, you hold down Shift. While you are holding Windows and Shift, you hit the S key for a screenshot, and now you can click and drag and do a quick screen grab. And then again, you can go to any application that supports images, and you can put your image in there. Okay, really cool stuff, guys. Control Shift S. All right, we've got about 2 minutes left. I know it's not a lot of time left, but if you have any other questions, go ahead and type them in the chat box or unmute your microphone and ask. We really do appreciate your feedback. Yeah, so Eddie, anything that's on your reading list, you should be able to access without internet access. So if you add something to your reading list, it creates an offline copy for you to view anywhere at any time. Excellent question. Where is the copy stored? I would imagine it is in one of the hidden folders. So one of the temp folders, the system, I forgot the exact name of it. I think they changed it recently. It's like remote app something or other. Is it actually better to use IE with Office 365? It depends. So they have it set up now where Office 365 works really well in a lot of web browsers. However, because of that ActiveX feature in Internet Explorer, certain things in SharePoint work better, or you have the option for, I should say. Like the ability to move files using the File Explorer in SharePoint is only available if you're using Internet Explorer or a web browser that has ActiveX. So it's just little features like that. You know, if you're a normal end user of SharePoint, you might not actually notice much of a difference there. All right, everybody, if you do not have any other questions, we're right at the end of our training time here. I do not want to keep anybody past it. If you do not have any other questions, you are all free to go. Thank you very much for attending our training today. Don't forget, if you did catch the word and what time I did it at, you can now email marketing@directionstraining.com. Thanks again, everyone, for attending the training. Enjoy the rest of your day, and hopefully we'll see you in the training again in the future.